Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Japan once again, and this is yet another new brewery who I have never tried anything from. As I told you in my last Japanese beer reviews, there's a number of little breweries popped up in the last 2 years. There does seem to have been a little bit of a boom actually in the number of breweries opening up in the last little while, and this is yet another brewery who I have never tried anything from, so very curious about this beer. For this one we are going to return to Shiga Prefecture, which is a little bit to the north of Kyoto and Osaka, and we're having a taste of my first beer from Two Rabbits Brewing Company. So this one is the White Rabbit, or Kinkan Wit as they're calling it as well, which comes in at 4.5%, and Kinkan Wit literally translates into English as the kumquat wit beer basically. So very curious to see how this one turns out, and this is yet another beer that I picked up at liquor shop Asahiya in Taishibashi Yamaichi in Osaka, one that Koji kept aside for me and really recommended that I tried. So very much looking forward to this one. As I say, I always enjoy introducing you guys to these new Japanese craft breweries, and I hope you enjoy my take on this one then. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Two Rabbits Brewing Company. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Japanese beers that I'm reviewing for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about Two Rabbits Brewing. So Two Rabbits Brewing Company are based in Omihachiman City in Shiga Prefecture, which is very close to Lake Biwa actually, which is one of the oldest lakes in the world in fact, and one of the most famous ones, probably the most famous lake actually in Japan. And the brewery can be found right in the heart of the old town, in one of the areas where all the old canals go through. It's one of these places that they always show in the kind of tourist programs that you see on the TV for Japan. It's very picturesque, and you know, Shiga Prefecture is known for its sake, and also of course if you're into craft beer, for the Shiga Kogen beers, which are one of the best craft beer breweries in Japan. But the brewery itself was founded back in late 2017 by Ayako and Sean Collette. Ayako of course being from Japan, and Sean is from Australia, along with Batbatar Purev Ochir, who is from Mongolia. So as I mentioned, Sean is originally from Australia, and he met Bato while they were studying for their MBA together at Kyoto University. Bato apparently worked for a number of years in IT, while Sean had been working in the oil and gas industry, and Ayako studied in Australia for a number of years and worked previously as a primary school teacher, and apparently she's the company CEO and runs the business side of things along with Bato, while Sean is taking care of the brewing side of the business. So the name Two Rabbits apparently comes from the old Japanese saying that if you run after two rabbits then you won't catch either, and currently these guys are a very small brewery. They're only producing a very small amount of beers in bottles, so this is very rare that I was actually able to get a hold of this one, and Koji told me that when I bought it. The rest of their beer is actually brewed in casks at the moment, or matured in casks, I guess you would say. So it's very rare to actually get a hold of one of the bottles of these beers. I think they only produced a couple of boxes actually. So yeah, very lucky to be able to review this one for you. But at the moment they've produced about 5 different types of beer, and they've got 2 series. This is the original series and the classic bunny series. And they were running a tap room at the brewery for a period of time, but they're just now about to open a new craft beer cafe in the style of a British pub apparently, which is kind of cool. So as I say, a very new brewery. There seems to be a lot of new little Japanese craft breweries opening up over the last 2 years, and again hopefully this is one that goes on to do very well. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery at the moment. It took me a little while to actually find the information on this. When I first got the beer, the website had very little on it from what I remember. I couldn't actually even find the website when I was looking through it. I was very lucky just to find to find it in the last couple of days actually. So yeah, and there's supposed to be an article from Japan Beer Times about these guys as well, but again I couldn't find it on the internet. There must be something going on with Google that means this doesn't come up, because normally it's actually very easy to find information on the breweries. Even my girlfriend, using the Japanese Google, couldn't find the stuff about these guys. So yeah, I'll put the brewery website for you in the description below so it's easy for you guys to find, but that's all you need to know about the brewery. As I said, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and that's probably your easiest way to keep up to date with all the latest goings on there. And as I say, another very new Japanese craft brewery there. So yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. So this one is a 4.5% wit beer. It uses Australian and New Zealand hops along with Japanese kumquats. Like I said, in Japanese you call this the Kinkan, and they use Australian bush spice in it as well, and this one is part of the original series. So yeah, it should be a really interesting one, this. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this then before we open it up. There you can see at the top here, this symbol here, if I can just try to make sure you see that on the camera, this is the Two Rabbits brewery symbol. You see that on all their glasses and things like that. And yeah, you can see here's the kanji for this, Kinkan Wit, if you're talking about the katakana there. But 330ml bottle, this one. It does tell you to recycle, which is kind of funny. But I will say, this beer is about a month out of date. I'm reviewing this one for you at the very end of February. So this beer is just a little bit out of date. And when I was asking the brewery for information, Sean, I think it was Sean that messaged me back, he was a little bit concerned about that, but I said, you know, wit beers do tend to last a little bit longer in the bottle and things like that, so we'll see how we get on with this one. But yeah, plain bottle cap on this of course, and we'll get this beer out and into the glass. I'm really curious to see how this one turns out. Remember, 4.5% this one, Australian bush spice and Japanese kumquats. So yeah, let's get this guy out. I'll tell you something, you can smell the kumquats already with this beer. Look at that, that was really interesting. That's a really nice looking beer actually. I don't think I've ever come across one that is quite that colour, but that'll be the kumquats that's given it that colour. Very unusual colour actually for a wit beer. I don't even know how to describe that, to be honest with you. It's almost like a slightly kind of bronzy golden colour, that, but you can see there's a solid just under 2/3 of a finger of a frothy white head on this one. I would say that's a perfect white head. It's not even creamy or anything. Definitely a perfect white head. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass on this one, and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of the head there. It looks really nice. If I hold it up to the light, as I say, it's an almost bronze. It's almost like a very light bronzy golden colour. It's a really, I don't know how well you guys can see that on the camera there, but this is a very unusual colour beer. If I just bring it back here, think about here, you can see this little bit of bronzy colour just coming through this. This is definitely one of the more unusual looking wit beers that I've come across. Normally the wit beer, of course, is a very bright, cloudy yellow colour, not too far off the colour of the bottle actually, which is really interesting. I will be guessing that this is the kumquats that are giving it this really unusual colour. But yeah, it looks very nice, and I'll tell you, just when you're moving this beer around in front of you, it actually has the same kind of sweetness that you get from sake, which is really interesting. I'd be very curious to know where Sean got his brewing training, because there's a lot of craft breweries in Japan actually use some of the sake brewing techniques, and it works very well actually. There does seem to be a trend of some of the breweries here in Sweden now using a little bit of sake rice in their brews to give the IPAs just a little bit more of an oily mouthfeel to them, and it works beautifully actually. Shiga, of course, they're one of the breweries that do that beautifully. So yeah, very curious about that. So let's take a closer look at the aroma with this one then, and just see how we get on. Now, yeah, I'll tell you straight away, the aroma of this beer is very nice. It's very unusual, as I would say. I don't think I've ever had a wit beer that's had kumquats in it. So, you know, this beer is quite unique in that sense. But the kumquats, I don't even know how to describe that aroma to you. It's really, it's very fresh and juicy. It's almost like got a little bit of the same kind of sweetness that you would expect from sake. It's almost like a little bit ricey, but at the same time, it's like a sort of fresh, berry kind of thing. Kumquats, you know, it's almost just like you can smell a bit of that spice in there mixing it, so it's a really juicy, you know, it's not, to me, the aroma doesn't come as being too far away from some kind of mix between like a slightly melony note and guava. The kumquats to me are coming across as something like that, but you can really smell the bush spice in this as well. This is a really interesting aroma actually. It actually, and you know, to me, I've seen some people using the descriptor soapy for the smell of some of these beers. This one actually smells very similar in its aroma to one of the hand soaps that my girlfriend has in the bathroom. It's quite interesting. It really has that nice kind of note to it. I think it's starfruit, she said, that was in that. So the kumquats to me are coming across a little bit sort of starfruit. It's almost like starfruit. It's a little bit like you know, like melons a little bit too, and you know, guava. It's something kind of along that sort of line actually. It's a really nice aroma, and you can smell the bush spice just kind of mixing in with that. So it's got that lovely fruity, juicy, sweet aroma to it, but underneath you've just got this little bit of spicy character. And when you sugar the beer up, that's when you start to get the more traditional kind of wit beery qualities out of it, that lovely wheaty note. But yeah, definitely it's got a little touch of that kind of, you know, that sort of banana, doughy, yeasty kind of thing that you would get from the Belgian yeast. You can definitely smell that in here. Definitely almost a little bit of a clovey spice too, but you know, obviously it's a bit sharper than that. The spice that's coming out of this one's a little bit more peppery than the usual kind of almost clovey spice that you'll get from like a German Hefeweizen or from the Belgian wits, right enough. And the way the fruits interact with that are really nice. It does, as I say, the aroma does have a little bit of an almost soapy quality to it, but it works really well. It's one of the more unusual wit beers that I've come across actually. But yeah, you've got this lovely tropical fruit note to this one, which is really interesting. So yeah, the green side of the hops in this beer as well, it's got a lovely sort of it's more of a grassy note to it, but it does have a little touch of a more kind of aromatic and floral quality to it as well. So the aroma of this beer is very nice. I like how everything goes together in this one. So you know, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this beer and just see how you get on. This is definitely one of the more unusual wit beers that I've come across. I've not reviewed all that many on the channel. I mean, this is review number 1640, something like that, 1650. So this is definitely one of the more unusual wit beers that I've come across, and I've maybe reviewed about 40 or so of them on the channel for you here. But without further ado then, let's have a go at this beer and just see how we get on. Take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma, because it is one of the more unusual smelling wit beers that you're going to come across. But for me, this one smells very nice, and the fruity and juicy notes are absolutely lovely. So let's get stuck into this one then. This one is the Kinkan Wit, the White Rabbit from the Two Rabbits Brewing Company in Omihachiman, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in Shiga Prefecture in Japan. Thank you again to Koji for keeping me this beer. Check out the link to his Facebook page in the description below. But let's get stuck into this one then. Slàinte, Skål, Kampai. Oh yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, the first thing you are going to notice about this beer, one of the things I've always said about Japanese craft beers is they just have this level of drinkability to them. To the Japanese, you know, beer is something almost to like clear the throat with. They're only starting to get into this idea, or the fact that you can get more flavour from a beer than like Asahi or Sapporo or Kirin or Orion and things like this. You know, they're only just really starting to get into this idea. And regardless of what craft brewery it is you're going to have in Japan, the beers always retain this kind of drinkability to them. This beer has that as well, but this one's got a lovely smoothness to it. It really is very nice how this goes together. Yeah, this is a damn nice beer. When I was talking to Sean, as I said, he was worried about how this beer would last in the bottle, but I said to him, you know, a wit beer, in my experience, and you know, he's a brewer, so he's got a little bit more experience of it than me, and he's obviously concerned about his product, but he was worried that this beer would have gone off. And as I say, I'm reviewing it when it's a month out of date because I struggled to find information on this brewery. But yeah, this it's lasted very nicely at this. It's still lasting very, very well, and it comes across really nicely. I mean, if he's, you know, I'd love to try this fresh and see what it's like, but even as in this state, it is a really, really nice beer. So yeah, with this one then, it's got a lovely smoothness to the malt base, if you like. But and remember with the Belgian beers, the malt base and the yeasty kind of qualities kind of come together like that. But you can feel that lovely white bready smoothness that just blankets the middle of your palate. You can feel that there's a little bit of an almost pale malty quality just underpinning this one, but on top of that, you get these thicker, doughy, white bready notes there, and it's got a lovely wheaty smoothness to it. That wheaty smoothness comes out a little bit more the further that you go into the aftertaste, and the bush spice is almost just like it's infused into that. It's all over the tongue. It's not in one particular part, although I would say further forward on the palate there, you can feel that there is just a little bit more of that spicy dryness to the beer. But yeah, it's really a very, very nice beer, this one. So they get a big thumbs up from me, or we'll give them the devil horns for the heavy metal. This is a lovely beer, this. So if you get the chance to try this, or if you happen to be passing by Omihachiman, go and seek out these beers. Because this is definitely one of the more unusual wit beers that I've had, and they've done a great job of this. So yeah, big future for this brewery, I think. But yeah, for me, this is really nice. Very, very smooth, very, very drinkable beer, this one. I like how it's all kind of going together. So yeah, the malt base is really, really nice. There's maybe a little touch of an almost biscuity sweetness to this one in the very, very centre of your palate. I mean, at 4.5%, it is going to be quite a nice, easy drinking one. And one of the things I always found with the wit beers, if you like, I could only ever drink one at a time. But this is a beer that you could easily session a couple of if you want. I'm not in that habit anymore, because for me, tasting different beers is actually just as it sounds. It's all about tasting different stuff, not sessioning the beers, if you like. But this is one that you could easily drink a few of and not get bored of it. It is just very, very nicely done. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there's a teeny little bit of earthiness in there, but it's a very light, almost like a German noble hop, German noble type earthiness to it. It's just got a light bit of sweetness to it. Like I said, it's New Zealand and Australian hops that they're using in their beers, but as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, that smooths out just to be a little touch herbal there. And that suits the sort of spicy side of this beer as well. There's a good bridge between the bush spice and the herbal notes in this, but as you come further forward along the sides of your tongue, it just evolves a little bit more towards the front of the tongue to be a little bit more kind of slightly aromatic and floral, and then round the very front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter and grassy. But the kumquats that they've added to this really give it a very interesting dimension. Like I was saying, the kumquats are giving this a really nice colour, this beer, and it comes out in the flavour. One of the things you always get when you add fruit to the beer is they always suppress a little bit of the green side of the hops. They always suppress the IBUs a little bit. This beer has very, very little IBUs in it. I think you'd be lucky to find if there's about 20 IBUs in this at all. You know, there's very little IBUs to this one. It actually reminds me in some ways of some of the Groot beers that you can get from Belgium, where they don't use hops actually, they just use like a sort of these kind of herbal type things. It really reminds me of that. There's a few breweries in Belgium that use the Groot herbs, if you like, as a substitute for hops, and this beer really reminds me of that, which is quite interesting. But yeah, I really like how this one is coming across. Kumquats, you know, it's something that I haven't really ever tasted, now that I can think about it. I would never ever encounter those in Scotland. I can't even think about seeing anything that would use them here. I don't think they're used too much in it must be, I mean that said, I was going to say I don't think they're used too much in Japanese cooking, but who knows in all these different prefectures. You know, there's a hell of a lot of different foods in different prefectures in Japan. But yeah, it really gives the beer this lovely foot, and as I said, in terms of the aroma, it was reminding me of something between starfruit, melons, and what was the other one against melons and it's gone right out of my head now. But yeah, it's got this lovely, just juicy, fruity quality there. The kumquat is a very unique starfruit, I think was the other one. But yeah, it's really got this guava. Sorry, that was the last one. It's got the kumquats. It's something in the middle of all of those. It's got the same sort of vibe to it as those fruits, but it really works very, very well with this beer. If you go behind the front curve of the palate, of course, you can get just a little touch of that. There's that oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters from the hops come out of the beer. Yeah, and for me with this one, it's got a little touch of a, maybe just like a sort of apricot-y kind of note to it, something like that. It does have a little touch of a slightly apricot-y note to it. Maybe there's a little touch of a kind of peary ester to this beer as well, which is kind of interesting. It's got a little bit of an almost orchard fruity vibe to it. The further you go into the aftertaste, it kind of just sits there, but the kumquat flavours are just lingering there, and the nice wheaty smoothness is kind of pushing its way out of this beer the further you go on as well, and more of the spicy notes push its way out too. There's maybe even a little touch of a kind of woody sort of vibe to this beer too, but you know, as I said, I spoke to Sean about this beer. I'm assuming it was Sean on the Facebook page, and he was worried it wouldn't last, but it's lasted very, very nicely, and definitely one of the more unusual wit beers that I've come across. So have a go at this one for yourself and just see what you think. I can sit here and describe this beer for you all day, but this is one of the ones that you really just need to try for yourself. But it gets a big thumbs up from me. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again, and I'm very curious to see what they're, on the basis of this one, I'd love to see what their Hefeweizen's like. They do have a German style Hefeweizen as well, so I think they had a porter or something like that too. But yeah, this one for me is a really nice beer, and I can see why Koji wanted me to try this one out of the three that he had, because it is very unique and quite Japanese, this I would say. So in terms of the mouthfeel then, it is, I would say this beer is mid-bodied. Carbonation, like I said, is very, very smooth on this one. It's got the mouthfeel overall really is just very, very smooth. It almost has the same kind of mouthfeel as some of these kind of cask beers that you get in England, like the pool casks. It has a mouthfeel very, very similar to that. Hoppy bitterness, like I said, in this beer is pretty much non-existent. You can feel the hops are very, very smooth along the sides of your tongue. I think you're lucky if you've got 20 IBUs out of this beer, or if any. You know, very, very low in its IBU count. The malt base has a lovely smoothness to it as well. It's kind of, the malty and yeasty characters, like I said, blend together, but it's got a lovely smoothness to it. It's got a little touch of sweetness in there, and the spicy character just gives it a little bit of an edge as well. And you've also got some nice juicy fruity quality to this one as well. The kumquats are very, very unique flavoured fruit, and it's something that I've not come across before, and this is what you want as a beer reviewer. You do want beers that are going to test your palate. So in terms of how good this beer is, this one satisfied me, and for being a little bit different, again, this is a beer that has satisfied me, so I'm very pleased that I was able to review this one for you here on the channel. So if you get the chance to try this, I really, really recommend that you do. This is an awesome, awesome beer, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. I do need to get up to Shiga and go and visit Shiga Koken, and now these guys as well. So that's something that we'll be doing hopefully over the next couple of years actually. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I can review more from these guys in the near future, but let's leave it at that for this one. This one is the yellow rabbit, they've called it, the white rabbit, sorry, the Kinkan Wit beer at 4.5% from Two Rabbits Brewing Company in Shiga Prefecture over in Japan. A lovely beer, this one, and I'm really glad that I was able to review it for you. One of the more unusual wit beers that I've come across in the 5 years that I've been doing the channel. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Two Rabbits Brewing Company as well, and hopefully I can return to these guys at some point in the near future. This was a beautiful beer, and I hope you guys have enjoyed my take on it. Until the next time, Slanger just now, check out my social media, try some of the Two Rabbits beers, and try some of the Japanese craft beers, because they are pretty damn awesome. Slanger, Skull, Kampai.